Hello friends, welcome to Coding Garden. Welcome to a Sunday stream. We're going to be getting all the news together for this week's news. The plan is to just take a little under an hour to aggregate any news that has happened in the past week, and then we'll record a news segment, and that'll be it. There's no way the mic is low again. I won't allow it. I won't allow it, America. Turn up your headphones. Welcome in, everybody. And hello, Thindal. Welcome in. Everybody should check out Thindal. They stream here on Twitch. Mic seems fine. 100% lower than Friday? It's impossible. Literally impossible. America 20. Let me double check that I have the... Yeah, there's gain on it. I mean, I could move the mic closer. Honestly, we could do like this. Check. Now it might be too loud. Oh well. But the issue is, I guess it's, I don't know. Yeah, that's the issue. You just wasted 20 seconds of my time, America 2050, when all you had to do was increase the volume. Revive Newt, what's up? It's been a long time. Hopefully you're doing all right. It's been a long time since I streamed this early in the day. I know that's a lot of times when you can tune in, but thanks for being here. All right, everybody, let's get into it. So I've been doing a weekly news show over on my Coding Garden channel. Actually, while I'm thinking of this, I need to add this video to a playlist real quick. And sure, come welcome in. Perfect time for streaming. I just need to wake up earlier. like I'm up on at this time this week, but usually honestly I wake up early and then then I go back to bed and take another nap. Oh, glad to hear it, Revive Newt. Nice. You're on your way. But yeah, so I've been doing a news show, calling it View from the Garden. I think I want to come up with a shorter name. We've talked about names in the past, but if you haven't seen the news show, there it is. Let's get some news going. So, and if you check out the news repo over on GitHub, I actually have where I get all of my news sources from. Someone asked in a stream last time, like Friday, and this is actually a pretty good resource if you're looking for programming and tech related news. I browse Reddit a lot, so I have this feed right here, which is a custom feed of roughly 100 subreddits, various programming languages, technology type things, and it's all in this one feed here. What I typically do is I just look at the top posts from the past week, and this is all the most relevant stuff happening in that space. I'm also going to take a look at Hacker News. I look at each day over the past week, so we're going to go back to the 17th was when I put the last news show out. Yeah. Do you have to be super intelligent to learn programming? No, absolutely not. It doesn't hurt. But I think that goes the same thing goes for like any skill or anything you could learn or any profession. Like people that are super intelligent excel at anything. But you don't have to be super intelligent to do this. I mean, you just have to be driven, and you gotta and work hard, and you can do this job. Cool. We'll also look at Best of JS, TLDR.tech, which is a weekly newsletter, and then JavaScript Weekly as well. Now, this week, I'm going to try a thing where I basically cover half as many things. So all of the past episodes have been like roughly 20 minutes. I want today's episode to be 10 minutes long. So I already have some YouTube videos I want to showcase. I have some JavaScript releases and news I want to show. I really just need to find like 2 interesting articles, 2 interesting builds, and 2 things in developers and tech. So let's start with interesting articles. I'm going to find things that are not necessarily programming related, and the best place for that is probably Hacker News. So let's start with Hacker News. Yeah, but programming and software development is really more about problem solving. Yeah, Inertia is so cool. We'll talk about it. This thing is so cool. Okay, so we've gone back. I'm going to look at like the top 3 links from the past week on Hacker News to try and find something interesting that's maybe not programmer related, but is tech related. Thindal says I'm not in love with Markdown. I think I've gotten so used to Markdown. I like that it's just text, but I could see how you might not like it. Yeah, there's been some YouTube shorts talking about input.value as number or value as date instead of just input.value, which is pretty cool. I didn't know about it until I saw it. I don't even remember the first video. I saw it in a video. I don't know which one. How to be a good problem solver? You have to be very methodical. What does that word mean? What does methodical mean? Methodical. Arranged or proceeding in regular systemic order. Orderly and systemic in habits or behavior. In an organized manner. Now, not so much. You don't necessarily have to be organized to be a programmer, but one of the things about programming and really logic, because programming is a lot of logic, one of the things about it is you have to be very precise, because computers are very precise and they do exactly what you tell them to do. You can't just do things in a general way. So that's why I'm saying you have to be methodical. So if you can learn how to organize your thoughts into more... I can't find the words. Organize your thoughts to just to be more organized, be more methodical, and that's really what I think it takes to be a good problem solver. Yeah, there are a lot of layoffs in the news. I'm not going to talk about them, mainly because like. Yes, it is a thing, but also there are also a lot of companies hiring as well. So I don't think any of the people that got laid off are going to have the hardest time trying to find a job. Some of them might, of course, but there's a lot more jobs out there. And a lot of the companies that did lay off were very generous and gave like a lot of months' pay so that they have time to find jobs and stuff like that. I think... there's a lot that goes into like big layoffs and stuff. I think, honestly, the fact that other companies are having big layoffs, other companies are saying, "Oh, well, you know what? We needed to downsize, and we could probably just be making more profits anyway. So why not? Let's just jump on the bandwagon." And it also has to do with like a recession in general. But I'm not going to talk about them just because like. So many other places are talking about them. We're here to talk about programming, code, and yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about that. Why is my code doing what I told it to do and not what I want it to do? Yeah, exactly. That's a common frustration with programming and software development. Yeah. Okay. If you're willing to work, you'll find work no matter what. Yeah, and it's, I guess, obviously, a lot of people want to be picky because they want to make a certain amount of money, they want to work in a certain industry, they want to have certain work hours, those kinds of things, but anytime you take a job offer, you're always making, not all, I mean, for the most part, a lot of times you're making concessions and compromises, no matter what. It might even be small things, but you're always making compromises, and at a time like this, when you just lost your job and you need to find another one, you can make some compromises and find a job at least that'll help you pay the bills for now. It may not be your dream job, but yeah. Okay, let's look at news. I know I didn't say hi to everybody, but I see you. I see you out there. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. But we're on a time crunch, so here we go. Was Friday's stream uploaded a bit late? What do you mean? Yes? Check the archive channel. What do you mean? Okay. Has anyone worked at U.S. National Labs before? What is U.S. National Labs? I've heard this. I spent the past 10 years working for FANG companies, but nowadays I find their performance review and promotion-obsessed cultures to be really draining. Oh, it's a government agency? Energy.gov National Laboratories. The Energies Department's 17 national labs tackle the critical scientific challenges of our time. Well, that's cool. Yeah, cool. Cool. I don't think I'm going to cover that news, but that's interesting. Let's see. Pretty Good House. What the heck is this? All right, let's keep going. A guide to creating better homes. Pretty Good House provides a framework and guidelines to focus on the core issues that should be front and center when designing and building a high-quality home or renovation. I'm not interested in that. What else do we got? HC-Tree is an experimental high-concurrency database backend for SQLite. It's officially on SQLite.org. Let's see. SQLite is sometimes used as the core of a client-server database system. While it works reliably well in such cases, the database backend module that it uses to store B-tree structures in its database file was not designed with this case in mind and can be improved upon in several ways. The HC-Tree project is an attempt to develop a new database backend that improves upon regular SQLite as follows. Improved concurrency. Support for replication. Removal of database size limits. Cool. Was this just released? Is SQLite suitable for production? The thing to think about is SQLite is a flat file database. So when you're writing code against that database, typically you have a single process. Like one program is running and reading and writing data from that database file. If you're in that scenario, sure, SQLite would work fine. And people have, and basically, I guess the thing, the what you can think about is, let's say you build a Node.js application and you want to serve hundreds of thousands of users in that one application without scaling horizontally, meaning you're not going to have multiple instances of your app running. You're only going to have one instance running on one server. So you go get a really beefy server. You get a server with lots of memory, lots of CPU, potentially a bit hundreds of thousands. Listen, the thing is, you can scale anything if you just throw more hardware at it, right? Like if you just give it more memory, give it more CPU, you can take a single Node.js process running on that machine, and it can actually scale. Yeah, just got to download more RAM. But what I'm saying is, if you do that, you still just have one Node.js process that's running. One process is handling the whole thing. And that means any reads or writes to your SQLite database is all going through that one Node.js process, and is all happening through the JavaScript event loop. So you can still do things that are asynchronous and stuff like that, but it's still just one process writing to that file, and basically one connection to the database. People have built things that way, and that's totally fine. But the thing about a database system like Postgres or MySQL or MariaDB or even like MongoDB or any other kind of database system is that they typically are just a separate service that has a protocol you can communicate with and can handle multiple connections. So you can actually do horizontal scaling, meaning you can have like one tiny server with your Node.js app. Now you spin up 10 tiny servers all running your same Node.js app, and they all talk to the same database, but that database can handle multiple connections and still be reliable and stuff like that. But SQLite is just a file. It's not really meant to be connected to by multiple things all at once. You could run into issues with that, which is why you would need something like this. Improved concurrency, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about this. I don't know enough about it. Yeah. SQLite makes a lot of sense, at least from the applications that I've built, in potentially in an Electron app, because an Electron app is running locally on somebody's computer, and let's say you want to save local settings or local data, you can put it into SQLite because it's all just on their machine, and the Electron is the one app that's talking to that SQLite database. So yeah. Yeah, we could just use sequential, but that would take time for everything. Yeah, so imagine if you went to google.com and you had to wait in line. Like, you go to Google and you have to wait because it's serving a million other people, and you're like 999,000 in line, and it's not going to load the website because you're in line. I don't know. Why to start a startup in a bad economy? Personas. Bitwarden acquires passwordless.dev. Let's build GPT from scratch in code spelled out. Okay, this article is from 2008. But 2008 was the last time we had a recession, wasn't it? And we're in a recession, or we're at the start of a recession. It's happening. I mean, I was thinking about this too. Like people that aren't affected as much by the recession, like people that have a more stable job or have a lot in savings or something like that, can actually really prosper during a recession. They can invest. They can buy things. They're not really phased by it, which is obviously a very privileged place to be in. But it is something to think about. Like if you have savings and you're not laid off, then yeah. Well, I mean, the site is from 2008. Nothing wrong with this. Look, a little enhanced. I mean, this was built for screens that were they only used to be this wide. But I can enhance. Fascinating. Fascinating. Okay. This is an article from GitLab called Personas. Roles versus 4:3 aspect ratio, exactly. Roles versus persona. Personas describe the ideal target for GitLab. Roles are distinct job titles. Interesting. We talked a little bit about like user roles and then just like lightly touched on personas when we were talking about the app that we're building. This is pretty cool. Stop it, Tara. The whole point of this is we go through all the boring stuff so I can find the interesting stuff. Bitwarden extends passwordless leadership with acquisition. Today, Bitwarden announced that it has acquired European-based startup Passwordless.dev, a significant milestone in rounding out the Bitwarden commitment to offering open-source, scalable, and secure passwordless solutions to every business and end user. Man, I mean, it's cool, but... Skip. I'm gonna skip. This video, let's build GPT from scratch in code spelled out. First of all, show me the code. We have gpt.python. It's using Torch. It takes in input. Great. Let's look at input. It's a megabyte of text. I mean, I'm sure he's going to talk about it in the video, but this looks like the training data is kind of like a manuscript for like a play or something like that. Menenius says, "Why, masters, my good friends, mine honest neighbors, will you undo yourselves? First citizen, we cannot, sir, we are undone already." Menenius, anybody? Like, no, we might. I mean, he probably talks about what this actual training data is. I don't know what that play is or what that manuscript is. Yeah, so that's the data set. It's Shakespeare? Let's build GPT from scratch. We'll start with the fetch function. Character. Oh, this. So, is this the Richard III play? Shakespeare, Richard III. So, in just perusing this code, I've looked at like 3 things. I'm guessing that in the video they show how GPT works by training it on Shakespeare data and then making something that can generate Shakespeare-inspired things. But being that it's only like an AI model is only as good as its trained input. This thing is only the thing that they're making is only going to be able to generate Shakespeare-inspired plays. It's not this GPT that they create is not going to be a generalized GPT. It's just going to be a play generator, which is fine. That's totally fine because honestly, like if you're making a YouTube video on teaching people things from scratch, you have to start somewhere. And obviously, in a 2-hour video, he's not going to be able to build the entirety of ChatGPT from scratch. I guess he talks about other GPTs and stuff like that. Nano GPT. Build a React app. No, first citizen, I can't do that, but I can sing. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I've got my list of YouTube videos, so I think I will skip it, though. All right, let's keep going. we're being very we're only picking things that are super interesting today because we've only got 2 slots for interesting articles, and we got to find something real interesting. What not to write on your security clearance form from 1988? Okay. Something dated 1988 and that is on the internet had to have originated on like a BBS, right? Like a bulletin board system or something like that. Fascinating. GPT means something. I actually don't know what it stands for. Just go watch TikTok. Listen, Terawatt, I appreciate your commentary, but I am gonna do the thing. The thing is, I'm here to take all this, filter it through my own mind and stuff, and then at the end of it all, present you with a TikTok-like experience of the news. Not TikTok-like because it's 10 minutes long. I guess TikToks technically can be 10 minutes long. This is a lot of text. Let's keep going. Photos capture life inside a drop of seawater. This is cool. These gorgeous photos capture life inside a drop of seawater. Wow. Wow, look at it! Mating copepods. Rather than insert an organ, the male attaches... okay, that's the thing happening right there. No, I'm gonna showcase this. This is cool. I like these photos. This isn't necessarily news, but this is fun. People that are into sea life and stuff will like this. Nature is metal for sure. Also, just thinking about like life in general, like the fact that we're looking at photos of like teeny tiny little creatures, right? And like we're and when you compare them on scale to us, right? But you can think about like there are entire universes in a drop of seawater, right? Right? Right now I'm looking at Hacker News. If you look at my news repo, I have at the bottom here, I talk about where I source the news from. Hacker News, news.ycombinator.com. It's been around for a very long time, and it's basically like Reddit before Reddit existed, where people submit links and then those links can get upvoted or downvoted. So that's what we're looking at right now, but we're looking at it by day. So right now we're looking at all the top links from January 19th. And I just found the gorgeous pictures of sea life. Cool. Let's keep going. Yeah, we've looked at some other apps. So I do look at the JavaScript newsletter, and I look at tldr.tech. Yeah, exactly, faceless voice. Are you watching soccer right now? Or football? Terawatt? But yeah, faceless voice. Yeah, like the bottoms of the ocean are they're like a different planet, basically. A lot of it is still football. A lot of it is still undiscovered. All right, the thing is like, okay, so this is most popular, but this how do I need to be able to filter by like, yeah, here we go. So last week, most upvoted. We'll do a quick scroll on the site, see if we find anything interesting. Advanced VS Code shortcuts. It seems like I need to learn how to use their website. I'm not used to it yet, so I'm not going to use it. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. We definitely are going to talk about this. The source code for the Lisa computer from Apple got released. This is good news. I'm going to put this in developers and tech. And it's fascinating. Now, will I show the source code? I don't know. I have to agree to the Apple Academic License Agreement that says that I can't use this source code commercially and such, and I got to put in my name and my email if I actually want to get the source code. Should I do it? I kind of want to. And I guess this is also just like a thing to think about. Like you've if you don't necessarily know exactly what open source is, because this is source code that we can read, but it does not have an open source license. It's a very restrictive license. You can't really reuse this. Obviously, this code is so old you wouldn't really even be able to use it for anything. But it's interesting to think about that. Like, even though you can read the source code, you actually wouldn't consider this open source because it doesn't have an open source license. So that's a thing. The Lisa, Apple's most influential failure. So I used to read. There's this whole collection of stories about the team working on the Mac computer, and I used to read them all the time. It's I don't know if it's all from one person or if multiple people wrote them, but they were basically like developer and engineer logs, and also like storytelling, because it's like what happened when they were building the Mac. But the Lisa, they were working on before the Mac, and the Lisa, when it got released, I think was like $10,000. So it's like the project went on forever, it finally launched, and then it was like way too expensive and nobody could afford it anyways. At the same time, they were working on the Mac, and everyone thinks of the Mac as the first like commercial computer success that had like a graphic user interface with like a mouse and stuff like that. The Lisa was one of the first. Now, they obviously, like, they stole all of that. Not stole it. They were inspired by the Xerox PARC, who has a research division that came up with the mouse and graphical user interface and Ethernet and stuff like that. But they were the first to like really, they stole it. Yeah. They were the first to commercialize it and bring it to the public. But yeah, everyone kind of forgets about the Lisa because everyone remembers the Mac, but it's really because, I read through this article and they're talking about the numbers. Like the Lisa, I think sold like 2,000 units or so when the Lisa was released, it cost $9,995. The Xerox had released its own commercial GUI-based workstation for $16,000, but was targeted at office workers. So never mind. Okay, so yeah, but basically the Mac brought it to the masses because Xerox technically did release the Star before even Lisa was released, but then when the Mac came out, it was a bit more affordable. So the Mac was released for $2,500, and that was something that people could potentially afford. Yeah, I mean, you compare those to today's prices, like the fact that you can get a phone for like a couple, I mean, obviously like the feature phones are like $1,000, but even that, like you have so much more computing power. Yeah. And then Microsoft, yeah, so if you haven't seen Pirates of Silicon Valley, it's like I don't know if mockumentary is the right word, because it's done in the style of a documentary, but none of the original people appear in it. It's all reenactment. But this is a pretty cool biographical drama television film. So it's like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates aren't actually in the show, but they tell all of the stories. And like they have like a dramatized scene of it's a fictional documentary, sure, of Steve Jobs and his team going to Xerox PARC. And then there's like another scene where Bill Gates shows up too, and they're looking at the machine and like amazed by it and stuff. A biopic. Yeah. It's a cool, check it out if you haven't seen it. I think it might be, you can watch it on YouTube. But that kind of like tells the story of them like going to the Xerox PARC and stuff like that. All right, I want to find the numbers of how many were sold. Yeah. Well, it is interesting though, Terwat, because like what a lot of people know about him is just what we've seen in the dramatized telling of his life, right? We don't necessarily know what he really was like. We get to see the dramatized version. We only, I mean, obviously, like, there have been some movies and stories that don't show only the good parts. They show, like, the bad parts too. But yeah, I mean, it's also like, I mean, that's the like interesting story here as well. Like, this machine is called the Lisa, and if you've watched any of the shows about Steve Jobs, he actually had a daughter named Lisa that he denied was even his daughter. But then, like, Lisa, he called the computer that he was working on Lisa, even though at the time he was denying that Lisa was actually his daughter. And then, like, they made Lisa a backronym. Yeah, it was codenamed Lisa. But then it was a backronym to Local Integrated Systems Architecture. But I don't know. Yeah, so, calm down in the chat. We don't need to argue about whether Jobs was good or not. He was a person with human traits, and that is a thing. All right, I'm gonna sign this agreement. I'm gonna sign my life away so I can look at the Lisa source code. Give me a second. Human traits. Name one person who is the perfect human with no faults. Come on. Name one person you know. I mean, obviously, you could talk about people in history, but everything in history, we're looking at through a lens. No, I'm not saying everyone is good. I'm saying everyone is human. And then also, like, you when you watch me, you're seeing me through a lens, literally, because I'm looking at a camera right now. But you don't see me when the stream turns off. You don't know what I'm like. You don't know my past. Okay. Apple academic license agreement. Yeah, and then the other thing is, I mean, you could talk about religious figures as well, but we also only know about them through books, right? Now, that could be offensive because you might not consider your holy book a book. It's okay through holy books, whatever it is. But still, all of it is stories that are passed down and that we tell, and we pick out the good parts that we want to use to keep those stories going, or if those to make because certain parts of those stories are inspirational to us or whatever else. I don't know. Look, we're literally, we are, we're talking about Apple Computer source code. We don't need to talk about religion or people or anything else. All right, Apple Academic License Agreement, Lisa OS Software version 3.1. Please read these terms carefully as they are an agreement between you and Apple Inc. about the Apple software, fonts, interfaces, content, data, and documentation. By using the Apple software, you accept these terms. If you do not accept these terms, you may not download or use the Apple software. Software use rights and limitations. Subject to your compliance with these terms, Apple grants you a non-exclusive, non-transferable license under Apple's copyrights in the Apple software to do the following for non-commercial academic research, educational teaching, and personal study purposes only. Yes, but so here's one of the reasons also why they want you to sign this this agreement, and it's not, you're not only getting access to the source code, you're actually getting access to, like, the assets and stuff like that as well, because there are, like, icons for the user interface and stuff like that. So, all right, I'm just gonna sign this. Here I go. Oh, it's just literally a zip file. Excuse me. Fascinating. I'll give you the link in just a second, SKDev, or if anybody has the link in chat. Okay, here's the thing, though. That probably means that I can't even I can't show the source code on Twitch. Obviously, nobody's gonna care. I don't think Apple's gonna come after me. It's not like I'm a huge person, but I think, like, technically speaking, I don't think I'm even allowed to show the code. But yeah, here's the link. So that's the link to the article, and then it links to this here. Honestly, give me 2 minutes to read this just to make sure that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so for non-commercial academic research, educational teaching, and personal study purposes only. I mean, technically, like, this is educational teaching, but the fact that people can Twitch sub means that this is commercial because I make money by doing this. You may not and agree not to redistribute, publish, sublicense, sell, rent, or transfer the Apple software. Publish benchmarking results about the Apple software or your use of it. Use the name, trademarks, service marks, or logos of Apple to endorse or promote your modification or other materials derived from the Apple software. Are you all learning? Am I a teacher? So what are you allowed to do? Just look at it. Look at it. I mean, I would imagine, like they say, for educational purposes. So like if you're teaching in a classroom in a non-broadcasted environment, and Eddie, thank you for the gift. Appreciate you. So like in a classroom, technically, like I guess you're making money because you're an institution where students pay tuition, but it's not being broadcast for people to watch. And Expected Hopper, thank you for the Prime. Are you new here? You are. Welcome in. Welcome to the Coding Garden. Now, so for whatever reason, Terawatt's comments are causing a lot of stir in the chat today. I need you all to remember that Terawatt is a troll. Take nothing they say seriously and look at it through the eye of someone that does not have malicious intent. Now, I understand that they have controversial things that they're saying, but also I do not assume malicious intent with what Terawatt is saying. So just take that for what it is, and literally nothing. I do not take anything Terawatt says seriously. Welcome in, Expected Hopper. Thank you for the sub. And I think I don't think, like, me saying that is not going to cause Terawatt to leave because Terawatt agrees with that, I believe. I'm not going to All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just for content, I'm going to show the directory, but I will not show the code. I will not open up any files on stream. And WBW, thank you for the resub. Settle down, kids. Settle down. Teachers teaching. Look at us. We have the source code for the Lisa computer. We've got that same license agreement that I signed a bit ago. We've got apps. So in talking about like the history of Lisa, the other cool thing about it was not only did they release a computer with a graphical user interface, it also needed to have software on it. So like it had a graphics editing software. It had a document editor. It had all of the software that we just take for granted. Yeah, I'm not going to click on any files. I'm just going to look at the folder. But all of the software we take for granted, like word processors and image editors and stuff like that, they had to build all of their own applications. So I'm guessing like each one of these folders is a specific application and they had to write the code for it. Let's see. And then the operating system itself is in here. I'm just going to look at one of these because I want to see what programming language it is. It's weird to me that everything is a text file. I do believe this was based on Pascal. Yeah, so Tesla created an object-oriented variant of Pascal called Classical that would be used for the Lisa Toolkit application programming interfaces. Later, by working with the Pascal creator, Classical would evolve into the official Object Pascal. Classical. Yeah. Um, so I would guess that what I'm about to see in the source code is Pascal code, but it's interesting to me that they're like in text files. Let's see. Um, some of this just looks like assembly language, but the more I scroll, the more objecty it gets. Huh. Okay. Um, we've got stuff for build. Show us the code. I'm showing you the directory structure, which I think is entertaining enough. Like I sent the link, so if you really want to look at the source code, you can click on it. Here's the thing. All it takes is one hater. All it takes is one hater to send a clip of me showing the source code to Apple, and then I'm out of a job because I can't stream anymore. So I'm not going to show the source code. Yeah. So all of these things are these .unix files. I'm curious if we look in the apps. Like, yeah, everything is .unix, .txt. Well, the article does mention that they used Classical for it. This is the other interesting aspect of like building an operating system and software and everything from scratch. Back then, there weren't really any toolkits to do that, so they had to basically create their entire software development kit and all of their own APIs and everything else just to build the applications itself. And so this was for the Lisa computer, and then I think they completely redid it for the Mac computer. I don't even know if they even reused any of the software for the Mac. And then, like the... there's an interesting history there of like object-oriented languages and stuff like that, because there was another programming language that basically just got invented to create an operating system and to create software and stuff. Does anybody know like the famous computer scientists that did that? Like especially for the Next computer. Like there was Next Step. What was Next Step based on? Give me the names of famous computer scientists. Yes, Next Step, a discontinued. Not Alan Turing. But yeah, and then so objective. So that's the point that I'm getting to. That NXplorer was saying is Objective C is like Objective C was like the eventual successor to Next Step, which is why if you ever worked in Objective C, you would see all the like NS underscore. Like if you're ever writing code for iOS or for iPads or iPhones, almost all the stuff was like NS underscore something or NS whatever, and that's because it came from Next Step. Let's find the people in this article. Nobody said the name yet. I mean, I don't know what the name is, but I'll know the name if I see it. And I don't think it's... Is it Alan? Objective C. Smalltalk. Who made Smalltalk? Alan Kay. We made it. So Smalltalk Yeah, we did it. We did it. So Smalltalk, designed by Alan Kay, Dan Ingall, and Adele Goldberg, created in the 1970s specifically for constructionist learning at Xerox PARC. So this language, so much stuff came out of Xerox PARC. It's actually kind of amazing. So like talking about how like graphical user interfaces and stuff they stole from Xerox PARC, like so many things we use today were invented at this research center, and they just never commercialized it. Other people commercialized their inventions. Yeah, they invented Ethernet there. Cool. But all of that to say, so there was a pretty interesting talk and video on the web archive of Alan Kay, and I think also Dan Ingall, talking about how they created basically an object-oriented language from scratch because they needed a language to be able to build the software that they needed, and then they needed a software development kit to be able to. Well, and then they also needed tools, so they built like debuggers and like basically they built the entire tool chain from scratch. I don't know. I'm taking way too long. This is fascinating. It would actually be fun to like dive into this stuff and really see like what it is, but I'm gonna have this open just so I can show it on screen because honestly, I have 10 minutes. I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes to pick a couple more articles, and then I need to do the news segment because I've been going too long. I need to get it. So at this point, we have at least one thing in developers in tech, which is pretty cool. Let's find like one or two more. How to own an airline in 3 easy steps, and I grab the TSA no-fly list along the way. I'm not gonna click that. All right, this is from the 20th. Let's go to the 21st. Buy high-resolution satellite images of any place on Earth. Are we really there? Has it happened? You're a stalker. You want to know what somebody's doing in their backyard, and you can pay $20 to get a shot of of their house from space right here, right now. Oh dear. So existing images are sourced from our database of previously captured satellite images. Most are available for new instant downloading within minutes of purchase. All right, single new image. By placing a new image order, you're instructing a SkyFi satellite to capture an image of a specific location at a future date. The ability to control a satellite impacts the base price variation between existing and new image orders. Now for content, this would be hilarious to just buy a picture of my backyard. But that would also potentially dox me. So minimum image size. Okay, never mind. So 25 square kilometers. It's going to be a bigger space. It's not going to be. It's not going to be that zoomed in. Very high resolution. 25 square kilometers. Yeah. Get started now. I mean, honestly, this is like. There are obviously I'm being a little tongue in cheek. Like there are legitimate uses for this, right? Like if you're a farmer and you own a lot of land and you want to get some satellite imagery of your land and like to do planning and stuff like that, but you need it to be up to date because like you could use things from Google Satellite, but sometimes they're like a year or two out of date. So to be able to get a real-time image from space is kind of fascinating. Like any citizen with $175 can go buy an up-to-date image from space. Is kind of fascinating. Now this was linked on Hacker News. I'm just curious, why was it linked? Did they just launch? Is there news about the company coming into be, or did somebody just post the link? Yeah, like that's the other interesting thing, right? So I'm sure like wherever this company is operating out of, they probably have agreements with the government of the country that they work in that they will not take pictures of certain areas. But to have that power, yeah, I don't know about this, Damon. Especially like if you look on Google Maps, like if you go to Area 51 on Google Maps for a while, there were, it wasn't, I don't know if it was exactly Area 51, but there were places on Google Maps where from an overhead view, you could see like landing strips and also like anti-aircraft machinery and stuff like that. But now all of that is like blurred out on Google Maps. You can't see that anymore. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is like this is a whole nother business model as well. People literally have drone companies where they go take pictures of large areas for planning and stuff like that. But this is interesting because it's from space. Build your satellite, launch it, and sell images. Yeah. There's a base pretty close to where I grew up. It used to only be trees on the satellite images released to the public. Yeah. What do you prefer when using React Native, Expo or React Native CLI? I haven't done it recently, but back when I was trying to do it, Expo seemed like the best way. It was the most full featured, but I don't have any recent experience with it. Yeah. So yeah, same thing with China, same thing with Russia. Yeah. I have used Xcode. Yeah. All right. Can someone tell me like, or does anybody know why was Skyfi linked on Hacker News? I just bought and received imagery of my rural property just for fun. The resolution is very poor. Technically, you might be able to make out 50 centimeter things as a pixel, but it's blurry and has a lot of artifacts. The colors are also not brilliant. However, it was a very recent image, a few weeks ago. And with clear and sensible pricing, I can see how some might use it. Nice. Are we going to trust this random internet user? I guess so. We don't have anything else to go on. But, I don't know. This is cool, but just because something was posted on Hacker News doesn't mean I'm going to talk about it, because it's also like it's like free advertising for this company. Like, literally, I've given them too much time. So let's keep going. Summer afternoon. Oh, I think one of the mods linked this, but I haven't clicked it yet. Arrow keys? Yes, arrow keys. Wow. The fact that you can do things like this in a web browser now is fascinating, right? Not a single download. I literally just went to this URL and I am now dropped in immediately into this 3D environment. Oh no, it's definitely not CSS. This has to be using like WebGL. Yeah, it's got to be using WebGL. And I think there's probably sound. Maybe not. Space to jump. Is that a real person? Am I controlling a real person right now? No. Check the network tab. Let's do this. So 16, yeah, you can see it here. 16 megabytes of assets. And then we've got ourselves a little game. Oh, it does have sound. Yeah. What's up, Bazenji? Welcome in. Do we have tasks we need to complete? Oh, I can change my clothes. I like green. Green. Information. This is a web experiment I made to practice some procedural 3D art. Oh, it's procedural. And so that means, like, as you move through the world gets created around you. There are 5 secrets hidden across it. I hope you can find them. Ooh. Now, yeah, so there's a lot of ways that you could potentially build it. I don't think it's networked. I don't think it's real time in terms of, like, other people that are on the page. We're all in the same world together. I would assume... Well, there is a WebSocket connection. Are other people here? Here, go here right now. Obviously, like, we don't want to bring their site down, but... Different servers. Oh, it is though. Yeah, look, 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 look. Look at all those people. Come say hi. Come say hi. Do you see me? I got blue shorts on. You can see me? Nice. Yeah. So that's cool. So it's completely networked. All right, let's go exploring, everybody. Come this way. Come this way. Come on. There's a path. Let's go down the path. Oh, and a sign. In the water. Here we go. All right, this is really cool. I think just in general, like if you haven't seen this kind of thing before, just realizing that, hey, you can do this with web technologies. Obviously, the fact that other people on the page I can see means there's a server-side component to it, meaning they have some kind of backend where it's updating the state of the current world that we're in. Ooh, we found an alien. A very pale and strange-looking man. He probably spends too much time on the computer. Nice. Okay, so that's 1 secret out of 5. So we have 4 more secrets to find. All right, this is really cool. I'm going to link this in just interesting things because... It's cool. Really, really freaking cool. All right, I'm gonna close it, but when I do the news later, I'm gonna share the link in chat so that other people can join me and walk around with me. But for those of you that are like, how the heck did they do that? They might be using something like Three.js, but Three.js is built on top of WebGL, which is built into web browsers. So if you've heard of OpenGL, that's a way of doing graphics like in desktop environments. WebGL is a way of doing graphics directly inside of the web browser. So you can do these kinds of things with just WebGL code and JavaScript code. And then Three.js is written on top of WebGL to make it a lot easier to do. Like if you look at some of the Three.js examples like this, like basically they have like 3D model loaders and... so you can actually pull 3D models in and like run them directly in the browser. Fascinating, right? These kinds of things you only sort of used to be able to do with, like with Flash. Yeah, and so people were talking about Unity. With Unity has multiple build targets. So with Unity, you can create a desktop app with C#, but because this thing called WebGL exists, Unity can target the browser. So you can actually build a Unity game and then compile it so that it can run inside of a web browser. But yeah, Three.js is cool too. All right, so yeah, I'm not looking at an article. I was just looking at specifically this game that we found linked on Hacker News. I think I'll link the discussion as well. I have not seen Plane. Can you do that with WebAssembly? So I think a lot of games that get compiled for the browser that were like written in native code are a combination of WebAssembly code and WebGL. But like WebAssembly alone would not give you graphics like we were seeing. You would need WebGL. It can be used on mobile? What? That's pretty crazy. Oscar linked this in the Discord. I hadn't had a chance to click it yet. I want to know more though. Like, did the author? And actually, so this is fascinating, right? So someone submitted this 5 days ago, and it only got 2 points, and then somebody submitted it a day ago, and it got 872 points. But let me see their website. Creative technologist living in Amsterdam. Vicente. Does anyone know what's the proper way to say their name? Vicente? Vicente. Vincent. Here's the tweet if you want to go follow him. Vicente? Vicente. I want to make sure I say his name right. UFO? Yeah, I guess I'll talk about, when I do the news segment, I'll talk about it, how it's created too, because a lot of people are asking, but WebGL, very likely. And I think that's the other interesting thing about this, is because it's in the browser, literally look at the source code, and we can see how it was built. So it has some images, and then we have, let's see, script type module that loads this one JavaScript file. And then this JavaScript file loads everything else. It's obviously like minified, so you're not going to be able to read the code very well. Vicente! Vicente? I'd be curious to see, like, can we actually see the WebGL code? I think this is further, is there Svelte? The other thing is we can look in the sources tab in Firefox to try and see what gets loaded. So that's the file I was just looking at, and then that loads app, which is Svelte. Interesting. So it is a Svelte thing, but you can see this code here. So shader material and like Vect3, this is all. This is WebGL code. Yeah, look at this. Like this. So it's WebGL running inside of a Svelte app. And all this is WebGL code. Wow. Wow. But yeah, so WebGL is a way of doing graphics inside of a web browser, very similar to OpenGL. How do they get it to be so performant? I can't answer that, but I mean, you can build some pretty cool things. With WebGL, and they kind of just work. What else did I want to show? Yeah, I think, like, in general, because you're using WebGL, the stuff is performant. And then I wanted to link Three.js too. So, WebGL, like, the code is not very easy to write and understand. And then there's a thing like Three.js that makes doing 3D stuff like this much easier. You don't have to write as low-level code. So Three.js shows some examples of the kind of stuff that you can do. Microscopic. Oh wow! Look at this zoom. I haven't heard. I mean, I've heard Babylon.js, but I've never looked into it. Web-based 3D renderer. What's up, Q21? Welcome in. Yeah, I think the Babylon is probably even higher level than Three.js. So Three.js is not a game engine. It's really just like a graphics engine. And then Babylon looks like it gives you a game engine on top of that. Not on top of Three.js, but it gives you the similar things that you could do with Three to make it easier to do this kind of 3D stuff. But also gives you a game engine, because a game engine is going to have more than just like 3D rendering. You have like the world, and you have physics and stuff like that. And I think Babylon also gives you like physics and object collision and stuff like that. Yeah, and so like you can actually build games inside of Unity, and then Unity has a web target. So Unity HTML5. I actually don't know what I would search for. Yeah, but building your WebGL application, or how to publish to WebGL. C# everywhere. Yeah, so Unity's WebGL build allows you to render 2D and 3D graphics in a web browser. So you can just take a game that you wrote in Unity and straight up, you don't have to do anything special, just make it work inside of a web browser. Now, there might be some limitations of this, like there might be some things that you do in Unity that won't work in a browser, but it is a thing. It is a potential build target. Okay. I'm curious if this is what they're using, because they chose Svelte. Look at that. That's so cool. Did the page animate? Let's look at their examples. Yeah, this is fascinating. Rust web application clean article. Look at you, Terawatt, being a little bit helpful. Crazy. It's from a year ago, though. It is cool, though. That's cool. Okay. We're almost done here. Open source, self-hostable to-do app. No, I did not suggest you're not helpful. I said you're being helpful right now. Listen, Terwai, you know what I'm saying, because you constantly detract from the current thing happening. You constantly troll. It's true, but I don't know, Terwai. Okay. Cool. All right. Where are we at right now? We have some interesting things. Then I guess technically we're already like talking about this. I'm gonna put this in interest, even though this isn't, even though he didn't build something physical, it is an interesting build because he built an app. And actually, that's something I haven't done on the news. And Apocryphos. Thank you for the Prime. Welcome in. Welcome to the Coding Garden. So that's a thing. And then under developer and tech news, we have Lisa. We need one more link. We need one more interesting thing that happened with developers and tech, and then I'm going to do the news segment. So let's look here. Top links over the past week on my Stay Relevant list. So this is a list of 100 different subreddits that are all put into a single feed. Who is Jonathan Fernio? The awards. The image format you're going to hear a lot about. Yeah, I haven't heard of Jonathan Fernio. Oh, is he one of the contributors to Arch Linux? An active participant and contributor to Arch Linux. Well, that's sad. You can check that out there. The ways we work. Cool. AVIF. The AVIF format is the next-gen image format based on the AV1 video encoding format. AV1 was created and developed by Alliance for Open Media. It's an exciting time for image compression. WebP has been gaining momentum as JPEG replacement, but now AVIF has arrived. I didn't look at the cause or anything like that, but it is unfortunate. AVIF is available today in web browsers versions used by a large number of web users. The AVIF format is best suited for images that contain specific details needing to be preserved. If you're reading on an AVIF-capable browser, which I am, oh, it's Cancer? Dang. You should see 3 images below. So we've got AVIF, which is 9 kilobytes. This is WebP, which is 12, and JPEG, which is 16. So the quality is similar, but AVIF is smaller. Wow. Okay. This is an ad for for Imagix, which is fine. I mean, AVIF is cool, but it is an ad for the company that does like image hosting stuff. Stop lying to yourself. You'll never fix it later. Google's DeepMind says it'll launch a more grown-up ChatGPT rival soon. Well, I'm not going to talk about it until they launch it, because they can talk all they want. We want to see it. Yeah. We should replace all images with text prompts and have AI tools generate images on the fly. That's actually a really good idea for like an app. 4 years ago, my wife and I released a game, and it grossed $3 million. That could be cool to look at. Don't code when you're tired. If argc equals 4 and it doesn't equal 1. That's funny. 300,000 tech jobs have vanished in the last 12 months. I don't like that phrasing. The jobs have vanished. The company's overhired, right? Like, so what we're seeing in this chart right here is the past few months, the number of employees that were let go. But what we don't see is the number of employees that were hired over the past 2-3 years. And that potentially tells, I don't know if it does, but it potentially tells a different story, right? They hired too many people. There was too much of a boom. And now they're realizing that and then letting some people go. So, yeah. Whoa. Copper isn't magnetic, but creates resistance in the presence of a strong magnetic field, resulting in dramatically stopping the magnet before it even reaches the copper. That's cool. Maybe Neo, but also, like, how many of these were actually dev jobs? Right? Obviously, like, we talk about dev jobs. We talk about, yeah, this is the missing, honestly, I will talk about this because this is the missing data. So I did see on r/data is beautiful. Now, obviously, I'm like being a naysayer here. I don't have a job. Like I'm technically self-employed. But also a lot of this news about layoffs and stuff. Obviously, like a lot of people are getting laid off. That's sad. Like if you have people in your network that have gotten laid off, help them. Like help them find a job, help them prepare for interviews, that kind of thing. But when you see something like this and you see a title that says 300,000 tech jobs have vanished, you have missing data, because what Stas linked is the fact that in 2021, so Microsoft had 181,000 employees in 2021, 221,000 employees in 2022. They laid off 10,000. That means between 2021 and 2022, they actually gained 30,000 employees. And that was actually this diagram I was going to show you here. Is yes, there was news of 10,000 layoffs at Microsoft, but if you compare it to the same time, like I guess like a year ago, they've actually gained 30,000 employees. Yeah, so it's like, yes, they laid off 10,000, but they also gained 30,000. Yeah, so Stas, what is this screenshot from? Obviously, I don't want to just... Screen source, a random Excel screenshot. But we at least can trust this data here in terms of the number of hires. But a similar thing with Google. So between 2021, 8 to 10 sources. All right, I'm going to show this, but I'm also going to give a caveat that, like, okay, don't trust this data, do your own research, but also this is the thing to think about as well. And I think this is going to be the news that I talk about in Developers in Tech. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously I'm not trying to downplay the people that did get let go. I'm trying to downplay the fear mongering and like the fact that, oh, now there are 10,000 more devs looking for a job. I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm gonna show Remix. I've got this here. Wait, Remix 11 is out too? What? What did Remix 11 do? Or 1.11? Can you tell me what it is, Killer? They don't have it in their release notes. But 1.10 is awesome. Oh, no, here it is. 1.11, not 1.11.1. Cool. But in 1.10, the fact that they have like a drop-in replacement for React Router is pretty slick. I'm going to talk about that. SSR streaming capabilities. Built-ins. Wow. 2 big releases. I'm going to talk about both. You can say Next is better than Remix, but what is Next doing to like, what is Next doing like this? Like, so this innovation here in terms of like creating a new React router, this would allow you to take an existing React app that was built with like Create React App or as like a single page application and just replace the router, and now you have hybrid server-side rendering. You can't do that with Next.js. Next.js requires you to like restructure things and like use all of their built-ins. With this new feature, you can literally take an existing React app and turn it into something that can run on a server. Yeah. But also, yeah, like I'm not saying it's not better. You can argue about what's better or what's not better. Remix is releasing some really cool features, so I'm going to highlight them. Next, we'll copy that soon. Fine, that's great. Like, I think that's the other aspect of this is like, if you're in the camp of like Remix shouldn't exist because Next is good enough, if Remix wasn't pushing features like this, it wouldn't cause Next to try and innovate, right? So like competition breeds innovation, and that's what we want. That's what we want. Sure, Tara. But sure. All right, we've got that. And then I wanted to get this fear-mongering title. I don't know, is fear-mongering the right word? Like, $300,000 tech jobs have been vanished in the last 12 months. Like, right? Okay. That's fine. I think so. Like, I think this week there's actually going to be less. I'm not going to talk about less things, but I'm going to talk about some of those things more than others. Alarmist. Sure, it's a very alarmist title. Yeah. And honestly, like, it gets people to click. I mean, that's typically what news shows want, or like news outlets want, and what someone submitting a link on Reddit wants is things that people that incite, I don't know, fear or sometimes excitement in people. This is like inciting fear in people. Like, people are fearing for their jobs and their lives and their livelihood. This is something super interesting. So, Best of JS. Um, yeah, I want to show. Yeah, hot pot projects in the past week. Can anyone tell me why Pico CSS is getting 177 stars per day? And if you might have seen me use Pico CSS before, basically this gives you. It's like a CSS framework where you don't have to use any classes. Fireship, but not me. I haven't said anything. I have a minuscule influence on people going to star a GitHub repo. But yeah, Fireship for sure. He mentions it for like 3 seconds in a recent video, and now Pico CSS is getting 177 stars a day in the last week. Yeah. Also, can anyone tell me why Zod is getting 80 stars a day? Is it Fireship? Because of me? It's because of Theo. Yeah, Theo made a video about it, and now it's getting 80 stars a day. So it's fascinating. Like, I almost just want to do an entire deep dive on the relationship between developer influencers and GitHub stars, because like obviously they're influencers. They are influencing people's interest in a certain thing, and also like they can kind of like make or break a project, right? Like Pico CSS is a thing that like, as far as I know, like isn't exactly getting regular updates. Look at this. The last merge into master was in October of 2022. Now, that's fine. Like Pico is a thing that like doesn't necessarily need to be constantly iterated on. It's just pre-existing styles, and it just works. But the fact that it's all of a sudden getting a bunch of traction is also like pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm not, and that's the other thing is like, I'm not saying Pico CSS and Zod are not good libraries. I'm just saying is that all it takes is one influential person to talk about them for people to see that they are good, right? Like I try to do the same thing with Easy Peasy. If you're trying to do Redux like things in React, go use Easy Peasy. That's me influencing, but like I'm not gonna get 80 or 100 people starring it a day. I might convince like 1 or 2 people in the chat to even check it out. And yeah, I'm saying if I'm saying this is, you would use this instead of Zustand or some of the other ones. But I've pushed this a few times, but I'm not going to get it to this level of influence. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Zustand? Yeah, that's the issue. That's the tricky part, though. But like Easy Peasy was around before Zustand. Next week, why is Easy Peasy? I mean, I would hope. Honestly, I mean, I haven't used it in a while, but it basically like it removes all of the boilerplate. It automatically integrates Eimer. It has really good TypeScript support. I don't know. But that's a thing. And I guess it's also something that developer influencers should think about, like before publishing a video or before saying things, because they have a lot of influence. Eimer is greater than EMA? I don't know if I've heard of EMA. I don't know. Honestly, I'm going to highlight Pico CSS because I've been using it for a while now. I don't know if I was using it before Fireship, but I've used it quite a bit, and it's pretty slick. Like, especially, I don't want to deal with any styles at all. I'm doing like a quick prototype. You just drop in Pico, and you're done. Okay. Let's do the news. Let's do the news. Yeah, I think, and that's the tricky part, right? Gato is like, I wouldn't take GitHub repo stars as a software quality measure, right? It's purely interest, and it's not number of users, right? Because people will star a repo so that they go look at it later, not that they don't star a repo because they're using the thing. So it is one metric, but sometimes I think people overvalue that metric. Is really all I'm saying. Welcome in, Broken Seagull. Glad to have you. All right, let's talk about the news. Let me organize this. And then, Cool. Cool. Will I talk about... I'm not going to talk about Pico. All right. That's article number 1. In terms of interesting builds, we're going to showcase this game. So whenever I'm running through all of the news articles, have this link ready because I want you all to jump into the game with me, and it'll be fun to see you, like we all drop in at the same time and kind of like run around together. But I think I'll open up the chat and drop the link when we do that as well. Cool. So I've talked about in the past, somebody mentioned earlier you can play it on mobile, but I've talked about in the past how this channel, Code Aesthetic, is a mystery. We don't know who the developer is. They literally have 4 videos on their channel, and they already have 135,000 subscribers. Their first video has 746,000 views. Their second video has almost 1 million views. It's me. Oh, that's cool, Terawatt. I appreciate you, Tigris. But this recent video on Don't Write Comments, like, I guess the other aspect is like they've captured a specific segment of the developer audience, and they're creating some pretty high quality content. Like the videos are soothing, they have good animations, and they're basically demonstrating points that we've talked about in the software world for a long time, right? Like this, why you shouldn't nest your code is all about early return and guard statements. That's not a new thing. Composition over inheritance is not a new thing. Variable naming, clean code is not a new thing. The idea of not writing comments but writing clean code or writing code that have good variable names or self-documenting code is not a new thing. But for newer developers, it's potentially something that they haven't heard yet. So I don't know. Regardless,
it's time to get a bit controversial.
Also, like, just to say, get controversial, it's not controversial to say that you shouldn't put comments in your code. There are actually a lot of people that have that opinion. Some people also believe, yes, you should put comments in your code, but I don't know. I need to find a section that I want to play for this.
It's time to get a bit controversial.
Hey, Pablo, welcome in.
I don't think you should write comments in your code pretty much most of the time.
Okay, I'll play that intro, and then I will show you, like, TS expect error.
It's time to get a...
And then I want to show, like, some of the types of animations that happen, because actually this was, like, a really good demonstration of...
But better instead.
This. So you see a piece... I mean, I'm going to let him explain it, but I'm going to explain it in my own words because I kind of feel the same way. So you see a piece of code like this big, long if statement. Yeah, and so it's clickbait. Sure, it's clickbait, but... I think this is, you also have to think about, okay, like, let's say you have the opinion that you don't like writing comments and you want to convince somebody, but you're not that good at arguing. Send them this video. It's only 5 minutes long, and it demonstrates what your argument would be pretty well. Welcome in, Takas. Welcome in. So I'll let him explain it.
Explaining it. Right now, this condition is complex enough that we add a comment explaining it. But we can simplify this by using variables to name parts of the expression. Now the condition reads like the comment does, so the comment is basically redundant and can be removed.
That was a beautiful explanation of, like, self-documenting code. You take code that was otherwise, like, very terse, like very like high mental load. Like, I don't even have to look at the right-hand side. I can look at the left-hand side and I see variables. User is author, is recent, user is admin. And now that I have those readable variable names, the if statement also reads like plain English. So if the user is an author and is recent, or the user is an admin, do the thing. So it's a perfect example of, like, why you should write code like this instead of code like this that has a bunch of comments above it. Yeah, and that's another reason I'm highlighting is, like, the animations are good. But let's see. Thank you, Stas, for this link. Sick. Is it okay if I link this Google Sheet in my news segment? Stas? What's up, 2600? Welcome in. Sure. Okay. So,
Right now, this condition is complex to make it better instead.
cool. So I'm going to show the intro. I'm going to show that. We'll show layoffs in a second. Yeah, this video on garbage collection is awesome. It's actually pretty interesting that I have a lot of like lower level stuff. So this video talks about what garbage collection
I
is.
thought today we could look at garbage collection, which is a form of automatic memory management. So the problem here is when you're programming, you never know how much memory your program will use when it's running. So if you're running an image processing thing, you don't know how big the photo you'll be editing.
Yeah, so I'll show that one. And then this one's from Low Level Learning. They stream here on Twitch too. Shouts out to Low Level Learning. Yeah, definitely check them out. But they did a video on Reverse Engineering 101.
In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to teach you binary reverse engineering. By the end of this video, you'll be ripping apart binaries in IDA. You don't need any programming experience or any cybersecurity experience whatsoever. Let's get into it.
It's funny. I think the top comment says, he says you don't need any programming experience, but he's literally showing you C code right now. I don't know. I feel like he meant like beginner programmers. Regardless, it's a good watch. But yeah, so yeah, if you check out the frequently asked questions, I have some of my extensions that I use. And this one, Enhancer for YouTube, is the theme that I use. And so in the settings for Enhancer for YouTube, I'm using the YouTube Deep Dark Green theme. So, is the recent news about Google that they laid off 12,000 people? Like, is this what we're seeing in this diagram? Like, we're seeing the 10,000 layoff from Microsoft and the 12,000 from Google? Because what Stas has demonstrated based on various news sources is that between 2021 and 2022, Google has actually hired 24,000 people, and Microsoft has hired 30,000 people. Even though the recent news of 10,000 and 12,000 layoffs, they have actually hired. There's a net positive hires here. Okay. I guess technically, I guess I should show this. Yeah, and I'm gonna clarify, Stas. Like, and I won't even say that you're the source of this. I'll be like, a random user that you don't have to trust. You can go to these news sources yourself. I'm gonna say something like that because. Do your own research, people. That's really all I'm saying. Is like, don't just look at a diagram that somebody posted like this and freak out. Do your own research, and know that. A lot of things on the internet, people are just trying to get internet clout. They're trying to just get internet points, and then news sources are just trying to get you to watch their news. So, yeah, that's the thing. All right, I'm gonna show the fact that the Lisa source code was released. What do I want to talk about when? Are there developers that can choose another career path after quitting the job or elsewise? Yeah, so there's a lot of developer adjacent or tech adjacent roles. I don't have any experience in those kinds of roles, but yeah, like, I mean, even like project managers, scrum masters, designers, agile coaches. There's a lot of jobs you can do where having experience as a developer actually will help you a lot. Yeah. Oh, you found the 5 secrets in that game? That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just rush over this article because I wanted to highlight like how much the Lisa used to cost, and I think I will. Yeah, this here. that. And then, so the IBM PC was command line based. It didn't have a GUI, and it was $1,500. So this, I just found it on the Firefox extension store. It didn't have that many downloads, but it seems to work for what I want. Like, I don't think the highlights get saved, but they work for, like, while I'm on the page. No, not that. Add. There we go. Great, great. And then this. Software shells. So it's like the Mac and the Lisa inspired people to write GUIs on top of like IBM stuff. Yes. Okay, and then there's the code. You got to sign the license. I'll like peruse through the code. Actually, I did want to talk about, they talked about how this is Pascal. Yeah, I want to talk about this too. You only need to click once to activate it. Okay, let me try. Nice. I had issues with it the other day. All right. Axios version 1.2.3. Great. ESBuild version 0.17. See, this is what I was talking about. Like, I click it once. Oh, no, I guess I do have to click add. And then, yeah, there we go. But I can't, it doesn't work on dark pages. And I don't know how to get it working on a dark page. That section there. Cool. Honestly, what's the news in Remix 1.11? SSR streaming? Bundling CSS? Bundling CSS is pretty slick. I'll talk about that. And then 1.10 for Remix is the fact that React routering of it. If you have a React app you've been thinking about migrating to Remix, you can be confident using the new APIs. So these. Yeah, then I'm going to show Inertia, which lets you combine backends, any kind of backend, Rails, PHP, Go, Phoenix, Flask, take any kind of backend and combine that with a front-end framework like Vue, React, or Svelte. Inertia looks really cool, really cool. All right, see you later, Q21. Thank you for hanging out. All right, and then we've got the public blue screen of the week, which I'm not going to spoil. I want it to be the first time you all see it when I do the news. I forgot to do the in between slides. I need to do that really quick. Thank you for the code comments or overrated segment. Yeah, of course. I mean, thanks to Code Aesthetic, they made the video. How much do I deadlift? I don't lift weights. That's funny. Fetch API with key? Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it in the past. Axios has a really good API, and I have not found anything to match it. Some of the other libraries you just use in a very different way, and I don't like the way I like the way Axios works. I mean, honestly, it's kind of unfortunate that Axios is such a large library for what it does. So something like Redaxios, is nice because it's only the things you need, and it's like really tiny. The only issue that I found with Redaxios is the TypeScript types aren't very good, and that's the other thing about Axios is it has really good TypeScript typings. How do you put out ideas on how to achieve good quality, ready-to-ship code while maintaining a lean setup? I'll give you an answer to that, and then I'll do the news. This will be really weird to hear, but there was an Angular style guide for AngularJS, not the current Angular, but AngularJS, the old one, and it was written by John Papa. And this one style guide actually applies to more than just Angular. And if you read the style guide, but you try to think about it agnostically, like think about how you might do the same things in React or in Vue or Svelte or whatever else, it talks about like patterns for folders and stuff like that. So specifically the application structure lift principle. So you should follow the lift principle. Structure your app such that you can locate your code quickly, identify the code at a glance, keep the flattest structure you can, and try to stay dry. The structure should follow these 4 basic guidelines. And then he shows some examples of like Angular apps that have various folder structures, and then talks about some better examples on how to do it. So like with this example, you have basically a folder for all of the types of things. So he has like a services folder, a sessions folder. I guess people would be feature specific. And then inside of people, you have the components and stuff that are related to that feature. Regardless, it's a good read. Even though this thing is from years 2017, do you even lift, bro? Specifically, the application lift structure, like that, anybody could follow that guide, regardless of what tech you're using. There's also the Node.js best practices GitHub repo. Node best practices, is this the one? Yeah, this has 85,000 stars. And I think they've been working to get this with more examples and stuff like that. So they talk about project structure practices. Obviously, this is for back-end code, but a lot of the things you can follow for front-end code as well. It's all about like organization and stuff like that. So hopefully those are some decent resources for you. Yeah, give it a look. And then also take a look at some of the more opinionated frameworks. So take a look at Rails, take a look at Angular, take a look at Nest.js. The fact that they have opinions about folder structure and stuff like that could help you decide how you're going to structure your code. That is all I have to say. All right, let us do the news. Am I ready to do the news? We're going to try it in one take. I'm going to be right. I'm going to have to go use the restroom. We're going to come back, do the news in one take, and then get on out of here. So I'll be right back. Hello. Okay. I'm going to turn off notifications for now, but if anybody subs or resubs or anything while I'm doing the news, please remind me to thank them after the news is over. I'm going to hide the chat, but when I get to this news story about this game, I'll reopen the chat, and you should go to this game too, so that we can all like navigate the game together. So this is it's like a open world game that's procedurally generated. So when I get there, I'm gonna post the link in chat, and then you should go there too. All right, I'm gonna hide the chat for now. What's up, Jack Stride? Welcome in. Hi, Mom. Now we're gonna hide the chat for the news. Okay, here we go. Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden. Welcome to A View from the Garden, your weekly programming, tech, and interesting news show. So first up, and interesting things. This article comes from the Smithsonian, and it is, "These gorgeous photos capture life inside a drop of seawater." So these are photos that are one drop of seawater, and they actually show the life inside of them. So this isn't anything new, but I just found it fascinating to see such really cool up-close photos of sea life like this. And I thought you might enjoy it too, so definitely check that article out. Next up, an interesting build. So in previous news segments, we've done physical builds, like things with Raspberry Pis and circuit boards and stuff like that. Today, I'm going to showcase someone who built a game. So this comes from Vicente. They created a game called Summer Afternoon. So I'm actually going to paste the link in Twitch chat so that people in Twitch chat can come take a look with me as well, because when I go to the game, I'm essentially dropped into an environment and we all get dropped in at the same time. So there's one person. Let's see if anybody else starts to show up. And you can kind of like walk around and you can jump. We can turn the sound on. And it's like an open world concept, and the idea here is there are 5 secrets throughout this open world that you need to discover. So there you are. Yeah. So jump if you can see me. And you can change the color of your pants. Yeah, I'm gonna wear some blue pants. But you just got here. Come with me. Come with me. This way. So you can like just peruse around the world. Are you following me? Where'd you go? Come on. This way. Come on. And well, there's somebody else too. I don't know if they I don't know if I sent them here, but it's super cool. You can see how cool this looks, and this is running inside of a web browser. So when I was showing this on stream, people had a lot of questions of like, how did they build this? And I didn't know you could do that in a web browser, and it looks so cool. And so this is super awesome. You can kind of just navigate around, and also it's a pretty calming environment. Like the music's pretty calming, and yeah, this. I think this is the first interesting thing we can find. So the thing goes up. We found a pale, strange-looking alien man, and we can keep looking around the world to find other things. So the person that's here with me, jump 2 times if you can hear me. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay. But the game is super cool. So to talk about how Vicente potentially built this thing, there is a technology called WebGL. So WebGL is built into web browsers, and it's a way of doing graphics, high-performance graphics inside of the web browser. And if you've heard of OpenGL, this is a way of doing it in like native environments, like on desktop, but WebGL actually allows you to build games inside of the web browser. And WebGL code can actually be kind of hard to write, and so there are libraries that are written on top of it, like Three.js, that allow you to write some higher-level JavaScript code that does really interesting things. Like you can build stuff like this inside of the web browser with Three.js, and there are also tools like Babylon.js, which is even higher level and gives you things like physics and a game engine and stuff like that. And if you're familiar with building games with Unity, you could potentially publish your Unity game as a WebGL game that works inside of a web browser. So that's a thing as well. Cool. Next up in YouTube videos. This first video comes from Code Aesthetics. They've been doing really well in the YouTube game. And their latest video is called Don't Write Comments.
It's time to get a bit controversial. I don't think you should write comments in your code pretty much most of the time.
So they have a really cool aesthetic, a real cool code aesthetic. You can hear the nice lo-fi music, but they also have really cool animations, and they're not talking about anything new. I think you might have heard from some people that they don't like writing comments. They like writing good self-documenting code, good variable names, that kind of thing. And if you do write comments, you should talk about what the code's intent is, not necessarily what exactly it's doing. But their videos have really good animations that demonstrate this subject.
Right now, this condition is complex enough that we add a comment explaining it. But we can simplify this by using variables to name parts of the expression. Now the condition reads like the comment does, so the comment is basically redundant and can be removed.
And so a lot of times when people argue that you shouldn't comment your code, this is what they mean. Like, we've literally taken something that has a high cognitive load to try and understand what these big, long statements are doing, and we've basically labeled them with variables. So user is author. You don't have to know the right-hand side. You can just look at the left-hand side, or is recent, or user is admin. And now the if statement reads like plain English too. So if user is author and is recent, or is an admin, do the thing. So they make a really good argument for why certain people don't like to use comments and why we would prefer better variable names, more readability, that kind of thing. This video comes from Computerphile, and it's about garbage collection. So if you use JavaScript, JavaScript is a garbage collected language. C# is garbage collected. Java is garbage collected. And so this talks about how garbage collected languages work.
I thought today we could look at garbage collection, which is a form of automatic memory management. So the problem here is when you're programming, you never know how much memory your program will use when it's running. So if you're running an image processing thing, you don't know how big the photo you'll be editing is. If you're a web browser, you don't know how big the web page will be.
So this gives a deep dive into how garbage collectors actually work, so definitely check it out. This next one comes from Low Level Learning. They actually stream over on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Low Level Learning, and they did a video called "Everyone in Cybersecurity Should Understand Reversing."
In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to teach you binary reverse engineering. By the end of this video, you'll be ripping apart binaries in IDA. You don't need any programming experience or any cybersecurity experience whatsoever. Let's get into it.
Cool. I think one of the top comments is, you say we don't need programming experience, but you're showing us C code. I think he does a really good job talking about beginner programmers. So if you know the basics of programming, you can still understand the kind of stuff that he's talking about. So definitely check his video out. All right, next up in Developers in Tech, the source code for the Lisa computer was released. So this article from the Computer History Museum talks about how influential the Lisa computer was, and talks about what it was and when it was released. And you might not have heard of the Lisa computer. It was actually Apple's first computer with a graphical user interface. A lot of people only remember the Mac as being the first one with a graphical user interface, but the Lisa was. And the story of it is actually fascinating because nothing commercial like this existed before, except for something that did come from Xerox PARC. But they implemented it all themselves, so they had to create a programming language. So they actually created Classical, which is object-oriented Pascal, just to be able to create the user interface and create the software that runs on the operating system and to create the operating system itself, which is fascinating. And in this article, I think I also highlight how much it cost. So when it was released in 1983, the Lisa cost $10,000. And this is actually why you probably don't know about it as much, because when the Mac came out, it cost $2,500. So that really put it within the budget of a lot more people. And which is why the Lisa didn't do as well. But you can see that Xerox actually released its own user interface-based workstation 2 years before that, and it cost $17,000. So really getting a personal computer that uses a graphical user interface and a mouse, getting it in front of the masses is really what the Mac did first. And then eventually, because IBM PCs and MS-DOS were the other thing that a lot of people were using, eventually people created GUI-based UIs that could run on DOS. So this article is fascinating. The Computer History Museum is fascinating as well, so definitely check it out. But if you click on the link in the article, this actually takes you to the source code that you can download to look at the source code for the Lisa computer. And you do have to sign this license agreement. Now, this is actually an interesting topic because just because you can look at the source code does not mean it's open source. Open source actually means that it has a specific open source license. Let's take a quick stretch. This software does not have an open source license. So if you read the terms, basically you can't use it for commercial purposes. If you modify it and try to commercialize it, Apple owns all of it, all of that good stuff. But you can still look at the source code. So I signed this, I downloaded the source code, and I'm going to show you the folder structure. I am not going to show you the code itself, but you can see this is what you get after you download it. And I haven't dug into this too much, but it is interesting to see all of the files. They're this like .unix file. But as we saw in the article, it mentioned it was Classical or object-oriented Pascal. So it'll be interesting to dive more into this. And then also, like, they have a folder for all of their applications. Like, the other thing you don't think about for, like, the first personal computer with a graphical user interface is they literally had to create all of the software. They had to create, like, spreadsheets and image editing software and document editing software, and the source code for all of those apps that were running on the Lisa are inside here as well. So this is pretty fascinating, and you can take a look there. Next up, I just wanted to highlight some of the things you might be coming across lately. So this is a post on r/data science that says 300,000 tech jobs have vanished in the last 12 months. And you see this and you start to freak out. Am I going to lose my job? Or maybe you did lose your job recently, or maybe you know somebody who lost their job. But I will also point out that this is a bit alarmist, right? Because there's more to the story than just the number of layoffs that have happened. And that's really all I want to point to. You're going to see a lot of stuff like this happening try to first take a deep breath. Don't let it get to you too much, and dig a bit deeper. So this was an image posted on r/data-is-beautiful a few days ago. And they actually show that between 2021 and 2022, Microsoft hired 40,000 people. So this recent announcement of a 10,000 person layoff, it's a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. Like those 10,000 people, like are going to have to find a job. And if you know them, if you have someone in your network, you should definitely help them with interview prep and job searching and different stuff like that. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that that's still a net positive of 30,000 jobs. So even though they let off 10,000 people, they essentially overhired. So while it is news that they laid those people off, they still hired 30,000 people since last year. And now this is a spreadsheet that you don't have to trust at face value. One of my viewers sent me a link to it, and they've kind of looked and grabbed various sources from different articles in terms of the company and how many employees they had in 2021 versus how many employees they had in 2022. And then we also take into account the recent layoff. So like I just showed you, it's actually a net positive of 30,000 employees for Microsoft. For Google, the recent announcement of 12,000 layoff is still a net positive of 24,000 jobs. For Meta, still a net positive of 4,000. Salesforce, still a net positive of 8,000. And then Twitter is negative, but they can't find more data for that. But don't trust this at face value. Go do your own research. You can find these numbers in public places as well. But I just wanted to call attention to it because a lot of times we're going to, and especially now when a lot of this types of news is popping up, it could seem pretty alarming, but know the real story and the full story. All right, now next up in JavaScript news, Axios released version 1.2.3. Now this is nothing special. It's just the fact that the version is 1.2.3, and I thought that was really cool. So that's awesome. ESBuild released version 0.17. Now you may not be using ESBuild directly, but if you're using tools like Vite, then it's actually using ESBuild under the hood. And it is mentioned that this release is actually not backwards compatible, so it potentially introduces breaking changes if you're using ESBuild directly. If you're using Vite, all of that, this is internal implementation details, so you probably don't have to worry about it, and you can probably benefit from it. One of the things I wanted to point out is now the watch and serve commands can be used together. And it has support for live reloading through server-sent events. Now, if you've built an app with Vite and used the Vite CLI or the Vite templates, you've got live reloading, but it's actually like added on top of ESBuild. Now that we can have live reloading within ESBuild itself, is going to give us a much faster developer experience, which is pretty awesome. Next up, Remix released version 1.10, and what's cool about this release is they have rewritten their router so that it works with React Router, or it is React Router. The React Routerifying of Remix. I don't know the exact details of it, but one of the things that you can do is you can actually take an existing React app that you built, like with Create React App, or any like single page application React app where you were using React Router, you can drop in this router, and now you can benefit from Remix, like server-side rendering and hybrid rendering, all from an app that you just wrote that was a single page app before that was just Create React App. So they have an article on this, migrating from your React Router app to Remix, and this is fascinating news because typically the jump from a fully single-page application to some of these meta frameworks like Remix or Next has not been trivial. So the fact that you can now just have a drop-in replacement and now get server-side rendering and some of the other benefits of Remix is pretty slick. Remix also released version 1.11, and this has a lot more cool stuff, like promises over the wire with defer. So they're adding first-class support for React 18's server-side rendering streaming capabilities. So that's pretty slick. And then also they have built-in support for bundling CSS. So they support CSS modules, vanilla extract, and now you get that bundling stuff inside of Remix, which is pretty slick. Lastly, in interesting releases, Inertia.js released version 1.0. I just learned about Inertia, but it's pretty slick. Basically, their tagline is build single-page apps without building an API, and it's fascinating. So it has first-class support for Laravel, but this is what it will let you do. It will let you use any server-side environment that has a community adapter. Like I said, Laravel is the officially supported one, but they have adapters for ASP.NET, Rails, Django, Go, Phoenix, Flask. So you could write a backend with any one of these things and then have a client use a client library like Vue, React, or Svelte along with that backend and benefit from server-side rendering and all of the cool stuff that you get with like Remix and Next.js and SvelteKit and Nuxt and all of the meta frameworks that are in the JS world. But now you can use a backend from one of those other environments and other programming languages. So this is pretty slick. Definitely check it out. All right, now for your public blue screen of the week. This one comes from you from user Bubba89. And they were at Disney California Adventure, and while they were on that ride, they actually had this error pop up. Python.exe has stopped working. So this is fascinating. And if you're not familiar, reddit.com/r/pbsod, public blue screen of death, people publish pictures of various software glitches happening in the real world, and I think it's fascinating. It's like art, like to be on a ride and then all of a sudden you're taken out of it because there's a Python error. Hilarious. All right, that's it for this news. Coding Garden is brought to you by viewers like you. If you'd like to support me, please consider becoming a patron, a YouTube member, a Twitch sub, a GitHub sponsor, or check out the various merchandise that I have. That's all I got. I'm actually live right now on Twitch, so are you out there? Are you out there, Twitch people? Say hi in the chat if you're out there. You can see they're commenting on some of the stuff that I was talking about, but if you would like to be here for when I'm collecting all of this news, definitely tune in on Sundays when I get all the news together to publish it. So twitch.tv/Coding Garden. We'd love to see you there. All right, that's it for this news. We'll see you next week. Scripted chat? Yeah, it could be. I don't know. That was 17 minutes. Can you believe that? I thought... Thank you, Dave Charles. I thought I was going to get it done in 10. I ended up pronouncing his name wrong. Did I? Is it not Vicente? Vicente? I don't know. Anybody in chat? Who was the one that was in the game with me? Because that was pretty cool. Oh, I pronounced it the Italian way. I've been known to do that. I gotta go though. I can't stick around for any longer. Played at 1.7 speed. I guess so. I think the one thing that I did do this week is I went deeper into the things that I talked about instead of just pointing at an article. So I think people will like that as well. All right. Let me push this news up. You were there too? Nice. Nice. Axios 1.123 was weird. You mean the fact that I mentioned it? I'm not apologizing for mentioning Axios 123. 123 is a cool number, so I'm happy that I mentioned it. Seems only 3 people can join the game. I guess that would make sense, but for whatever reason, the one game that I got dropped into, there were like I thought there were like 4 people that all followed me around. But these are all the links that I talked about today, so if you want to click them, definitely check all of that out. Join the mailing list. I send out go live notifications every time I go live, and definitely go subscribe to the YouTube channel and the archive channel. This edited news will be posted on the main channel, and then this VOD is going to get posted on the archive channel tomorrow as well. It shards instances. That would make sense, so like it doesn't potentially overload, and it could potentially automatically scale. It'd be really cool to see like a rundown of how he built that thing, because the server side aspect of it is pretty interesting too. But yeah, follow me over on Twitter, and I think that's all I got. Let's go on a raid. Thank you everybody for hanging out. This has been, I think, like the earliest in the day stream that I've done in a long time. So we got to see a lot of names we don't normally see, which was pretty fun. If you're a sub, you can use that raid message. If you're not a sub, you can use that raid message. And you can come up with your own raid message. But yeah, so a quick shout out for the archive channel. All of the VODs from Twitch are now on the archive channel. So the streams from last week are there. And that's where you'll find them. This one that just happened will be here on Twitch for the next 24 hours, but then it gets moved over to YouTube. So check it out over there. Alrighty, everyone. Again, thank you for hanging out. Have a wonderful week. And also check this. I forgot to say, check the schedule. So I'm gonna post the schedule and like weekly update tomorrow. But there at least will be a stream on Friday, maybe one other stream as well. All right, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this. Get those raid messages ready. We're gonna go in hot to the Primogen. We need to show the Primogen army what we got. So definitely get those raid messages ready. I'll help you out. All right, everyone ready? Here we go.